In this video, we share how a junior prop trader made a series of scalps in Tesla to achieve a new daily high in profits. Hi, I'm Mike Bellafiore, co-founder of SMB Capital, and we're a proprietary trading firm located in Midtown Manhattan, and I'm also the author of the trading classic, One Good Trade, and the Playbook. In this video, we discuss long and short scalps in Tesla that you can learn to trade to grow your trading account.
Today I'm doing a playbook on my momentum scalps on the opening drive and into the close of day on Tesla on February 4th, which is a really big day for Tesla. So for big picture context, Tesla opened at all-time highs for the second day in a row. At the same time, it was also day 4 after a very strong Q4 earnings. It beat on revenue, beat on EPS. They met expectations for their car deliveries, and there's a lot of good outlook for the future production on it, especially because they were building more factories in other countries. And also the Chinese coronavirus news that had caused a dip in the market was deemed kind of negligible for Tesla's Chinese growth trajectory. Since its third quarter earnings in October, Tesla has actually come from $250 to $900 in 4 months on this day. Analysts have been trying to keep up with the stock and their price targets. Their market cap actually quadrupled from 40 billion to 160 billion in this very short time period. And as far as the market goes, in the last week, the market had fallen due to coronavirus fears. But leading into this day, it was getting kind of clear that perhaps the dip was being bought. SPY was approaching the top of the range that it dipped into. The Qs were approaching its all-time highs again. And there were a lot of indicators of a very strong market. And in summary, for the big picture context, Tesla has been a really prominent market leader in a very strong market.
All right, so big day for Tesla and really good day for you too, right? So last night we celebrated you hitting an important milestone.
Right.
And that's great. And you did it in this opportunity right here, which we're going to talk about.
Right.
So we went to Mighty Quinn's. I forget how we got on that subject, but I think that Max and I were sort of saying during training at some point that if somebody hit this particular milestone, which you hit, that I think I was on the hook for taking everybody out for dinner, and I don't know why we selected Mighty Quinn's, but anyway, we did. And so you hit that milestone. So we went out and had some chicken sandwiches. You guys had I had the ribs, but I don't know why you guys got all the chicken sandwiches. It seems like the ribs looked a little bit better. I mean, it is a barbecue place. I mean,
barbecue chicken.
But it was fried chicken. You got the fried chicken sandwich. It wasn't the barbecue chicken.
Fried barbecue chicken sandwich.
So it's pretty good. And now we were talking, so we all went out, and then we were talking about the next milestone for one of you in your class to hit, and talked about maybe getting pizza. I was actually looking up where we could go to get really good pizza, and I typed in like the top pizza places in New York City, and I think I gained 5 pounds just actually looking at the site. There's some like pretty good places in Brooklyn, and so whoever does it will get to pick one of the top places in New York, and we'll take everybody there. But look, the milestone is the milestone, and it doesn't even really matter what it is. The reason why we actually have milestones, and Carlton passed them out to you guys recently, some are process orientated and some are P&L generated. There's a long way for you to go from where you are all at to being a 7-figure trader. But along the way, you do have to challenge yourself, and you do need to set goals which are achievable so that you can see the progress that you're making, so that you can sustain your energy to keep working at this. If you were to come in at the beginning of your career, let's say the only goal that we had, David, was for you to be a 7-figure trader. Now, this really good experience for you would be perhaps not as encouraging, because it's a long way from being a 7-figure trader. But if you can get to one milestone, and I think the milestones are, the first trade is 250 and then 500 and 1,000. I think it's 2,500 and I think it's 5,000 and then 10,000 are some of the milestones that we sort of set up. And so people who are watching at home, who are retail traders, like that's a good thing to copy. Can I make a $250 trade? If I do so, give myself a check mark. Acknowledge that I've hit a milestone. That's good stuff. When I have a $500 trade, okay, check that off. I've made progress. When I've made a $1,000 trade, okay, it's a milestone, check that off. You are making progress. You are setting achievable goals. We have some milestones on reading the tape, viewing sessions, and consistency. There's some milestones in there, how many days you're positive in a row. But those are important. I think they're fun because the reality is, again, you're not going to make as much money as some of the better guys on the desk, but you still can be having just as good of a day production-wise as them, and you need to see that. And 1,000 becomes a $3,000 day, becomes a $10,000 day. Okay, so you've got the next milestone for yourself to hit. Good job in hitting that, and let's talk about how you did it with this particular trade.
So Tesla's been really strong, and today especially it was really in play. Some of the intraday fundamentals. For Tesla, by the end of this day, it was 2.7 RVol, which is pretty good for it. I want to note a couple things on its intraday fundamentals. It's short float. This isn't exactly accurate because the site I use for information on short float doesn't always update to the exact day, but Tesla has been generally fairly high shorted, above 20%. Even though it's been going up, people are always trying to short it. Some people try to make their careers in shorting Tesla. So that's always something important to keep in the back of the mind. On this day, it also gapped up 15%. And probably most notably, the pre-market volume on this day was almost 20% of its average volume, which I think shows how in play this name was. And then I'm going to show you some charts to show how extended this was from its quarterly 3 earnings.
If you want to learn 3 real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing right now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That's going to open up this free registration page in the new window, so don't worry, you're not going to lose this video. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
So on the daily, you can see here is its quarter 3 earnings, and there's a large gap then. And since this October date, it's come all the way to 900 from 250, which is almost quadruple in its price. On an all-time chart, it's a little more clear. You can see that it's come out of this area where it's come down and then continually just come up quite a bit, very steeply. And this is the 30-minute chart for the last 2 months. You can see it's very clearly an uptrend. And then particularly the last couple days, you can see that it's extremely steep. So for some market context, this is a 4-hour chart for the last 6 months. And this is just to show that how strong the market's been. This line indicates the breakout point from a long-term consolidation that the SPY has had, and it's been an uptrend. This dip right here has been due to the coronavirus news and fears, but on this day you can see that the SPY is kind of coming up to the top of the range that it's been in. It looks like the dip's being bought, and more clearly in the Qs, which is very similar, the dip's been bought, but it's actually approaching its all-time highs. So the Qs have been a little bit stronger. But all around, very strong market. For my morning game plan, Tesla's been extremely strong, and shorting it in the past days has been very risky. And the stock at this point, as you can see from the weekly chart, is like extremely parabolic. And there hasn't been like any pull-in, which I think has me keep my mind open for both the short and a long side here. Because, like how high can it go, right? That question, people keep asking it in the weeks up to this moment, and it just keeps going up. So I don't think I have the resources or the expertise to kind of guess the top. So I'm just going to try to be in a scalp mindset, because the one certain thing is that there's an elevated R vol. It's very in play. There's a lot of pre-market volume. And so I want to be able to read the tape clearly on the morning game plan and play the momentum. Really play any breakouts, consolidation near highs and lows. And really, if there's any sign of directionality, just try to scalp that for momentum.
That's an important point. Lots of times people think I have to be long Tesla and catch a really big move, or I have to catch the backside in Tesla and catch a really big short pull-in trade. And you don't need to do that. It's good enough to just spot something and look for opportunities where it's overbought, short it for a scalp, oversold, buy it for a scalp, wait for it to break out of an important area, scalp it to the upside, maybe breaks down from area, scalp it to the short side. I mean, something like Tesla is going up and down intraday in shorter chunks cleanly that are easy to discern if you are patient. And so you don't have to feel that pressure. And you can see that a little bit today with space, right? Even over the last 3 days, people feel like I have to get the space long right, or I have to get the space short right, which is fine. And I would say a majority of the traders will focus on that. But you can make a career thinking differently. You can make a career saying, that's a lot of pressure for me. You know, maybe that's not exactly the way I want to think through things. So you don't need to put that kind of pressure on yourself. So good, and I'm glad you're being open-minded that you don't need to do that. That's an important observation.
And my focus is really just trying to be in like a very nimble mindset, not to let myself get caught or stuck to one side unless it's very, very clear, which in other words really just means being really quick to take profits and being open-minded. So this was the pre-market setup. You can see like yesterday it was pretty strong in an uptrend, and then today it's gapped up. You can see that since the morning there's been a good amount of pre-market volume, and it even broke 900, which was a target that not many thought it would hit like a couple months ago, and it's already there in the pre-market. And then this is what I ended up doing on the opening drive. So number one, I noticed that there's weakness on the tape, and there's a swipe below the pre-market support leading into the open. And I noticed that there's an inability for it to approach the pre-market high, which is kind of that wick you see on the candle. And I end up shorting one momentum lot, and I take it down. And as it goes down, I'm really just watching the tape, taking profits, noting that there's heavy selling volume. And when the tape begins to turn, I get out my entire position. See if it gets bought back up, and when it does, I start to get back in when it starts making a push back towards VWAP.
Did you hold that until you saw the tape turn? You saw the weakness, you hit it for a scalp, and then you were saying to yourself, because you're quite in the money here, you're saying to yourself, I want to see it turn on the tape, stay in it until I see the turn? Or are you just sort of saying, wow, I'm so far in the money, lock in profit?
I mean, definitely a little bit of both. I mean, it came down a lot farther than I thought it would, but I feel like this has happened before in Tesla, where it's kind of like gone, sold off in the open and then just bid back up and gone for highs on the day. So I was just really prepared for it to turn around on me. I think just the short side on Tesla is just really risky to keep size on, and I've definitely been burned multiple times trying to hold on to size. The way I set up my volume bar on Thinkorswim, I can see like how much size has been done on the ask or the bid, and you can see like the first candle is really, a lot of heavy selling, and a lot of heavy, and you can actually see like when the candles turn green, you can see like all the volume bars have also turned green, and like the buying really comes in, and I think on the tape it's pretty clear. I'm just trying to be as nimble as possible. So I end up getting long on that turn, get out on the small pullback. You can see at number 4, and I actually try to flip it short, but that didn't end up working out. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is just a really shallow pull-in, and I got back long when that's confirmed.
Well, that's good though. I mean, you catch a nice move down right away.
Right.
1 and then 2, and then you're able to rest and think about, hey, where would be a good long? You get long and you take something out of that. and that's good open-minded trading. I mean, it sold off a little bit too much. So with 3, that set up a good long. That's very good intraday active trading. That's good, but that's very good intraday active scalping.
And I just try to continue having this mindset. As it approaches the pre-market highs there, I end up getting out a little bit, and I'm just like trying to see if it's going to break. It does break pretty cleanly, so I got back in there, and then when at the top it starts getting really heavy, and eventually I got out of everything, especially when it was kind of clear that it was really selling off, and it hadn't sold off since the open, and I ended up flipping short.
All right, good. So it's going up, it's going up, it's going up, it's gone up a bunch, and now you're noticing it's harder for it to go up higher. There's volume being done, but that volume is not pushing it up as much as it had from where you watched it towards the bottom up to where it is there. We call that being heavy. There's volume being done, there's transactions being done, there's decent volume, but that is not pushing the stock higher.
And the pull-in is a lot deeper than the last several pull-ins, which have been extremely shallow. Between number 7 and number 8, it actually consolidates a little bit. I thought it was going to break out long, tried scalping it long, and it was a fake breakout. So I got out of that and then flipped short when it was clear that was a fake breakdown or breakout. And that was kind of like most of the momentum scalping I did on the opening drive or during the early open. And I ended up scalping this for the whole day, but I think that this kind of demonstrated the best time to momentum scalp because there's so much volume and volatility. And I think it was actually a little bit of a mistake to continue trying to scalp this a little bit too much once the moves are the opening moves are a little bit finished.
Yeah, and so what you'll see when you're trying to make some of these scalps in Tesla is that when you can see it, when you can see where there's weakness and you get short, when you can see where there's strength and you can get long, when you can notice there's something different, when you can describe what that is. So, as that's going up after a pretty explosive move to the upside, you're saying, I'm seeing heaviness on the tape. And now I'm getting short. Those are going to tend to be your better momentum trades / scalp trades. On the open, I forget what your words are and I can't see that far. Can you read that to me again?
On the open, I noticed weakness on the tape.
So I notice weakness on the tape.
Yeah.
And then the more you can, in your own head, describe what that is, what that means, that's going to get you to make those see it better trades. That's important. And then so the over trading becomes, oh well, it didn't go down, so I'll get long. As opposed to, it didn't go down, they're trying to push it lower, there's more volume, there's a buyer, it's new, let me get long. I'm seeing the strength. That's a better trade. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, this is just my trade executions on the opening drive. Basically, you can see me flip short here, flipping here, trying to short the pull-in, doesn't work, end up getting long, all the way top, flip, and so on. Here, this is actually zoomed out for the entire day. What I was just showing you was this kind of area right here on the left side where it comes down, up, back down, and it's really choppy. Kind of like I was just saying, like I definitely scalped a little bit too much into the midday. I think like it's pretty clear after it holds VWAP here, it just kind of trends up back to that high and ends up breaking out a little bit more. Something really important to keep in mind in the future when if a stock's ever in play like this again and I'm trying to momentum scalp it, is to kind of look for a bigger picture idea once that momentum and the volume dies down. Because if it's going to trend, like I shouldn't just be scalping it.
Yeah, and if you seem like you're doing a pretty good job of being open-minded because you're trading it long and short. That seems to be an easy transition for you to be able to make, which is, all right, after an hour settles where there's this period of price discovery, let me just sort of see if there's a particular trend that I'm noticing. And because you're in it and trading it actively, it should be actually easier for you to detect the likelihood that there is going to be a trend as opposed to just looking at a chart. So I sense that you should be able to do that. And so, when you have something that gaps up and then is above VWAP and holding the gap and doing nicely, you can shift then to say, now it's time for a swing trade. I'm seeing it, I'm seeing the strength, let me give it a run. I'm now making an intraday swing trade. I've got different rules for that. That's a different trade, let me give it a go.
Right.
All right, good. But yeah, good. I mean, really good job hitting your milestone. Looking forward to all of the next of you getting to that particular milestone. You should all do it. In this market, you really should all do it. Almost by the end of the week. It's Thursday. Max, I know you're upset about today, but you know, and you, that's fine. You should be. But these milestones, these numbers, become much higher. You know, there was a time where I personally challenged some of the guys on the desk to have a $30,000 month, who have gone on to make, you know, millions and millions in a year. These numbers are just, we're making them up. We're just making them up. They're arbitrary. There's nothing that says that you can only make $1,000 in a particular day. You know, great milestone at the beginning to hit. That's impressive. Nothing to say for the next person in the room when they hit 3,000. It's just it's an arbitrary number. They shift. But the trade that went into it that you like, you can build from and trade bigger. And the improvement that you see, perhaps turning this into a swing, can be made to make a little bit more. And you can find more trades like this and other things. Like, you know, could you have found the same trade in space over the last 5 days or so? Yes, 100%. And so that's the importance of that. And you know, you just keep challenging yourself. There's really no destination. Now it's your turn. Is scalping a strategy that you use in your trading? What, if so, are your favorite trade setups to scalp? Let us know by leaving a comment below right now.